Hello, everyone from E.P.N. This is Your World Discovered, and my name is David Ewen. My guest today joins us again. She's been on our program before. Her name is Sarah Buhrman, and she has the book that we'll be talking about, Life 101, How to Be a Grown-Up. And that's what we will be talking about today. So the first thing that we would like to do is first welcome Sarah Buhrman to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me back.
It's nice to see you again, and it's good to have you back again. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about your book, Life 101, How to Be a Grown-Up. Before we went on air, I was telling you that I haven't learned yet, so maybe you can help me. First, tell me, what is Life 101, How to Be a Grown-Up? Tell us what that's all about.
Well, most of us learn how to do a lot of things through just, life experience, figuring things out on our own. And I kept hearing the same things over and over. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. I wish they had taught me in school. And I was like, well, it kind of sucks that so many people have to go through the same mistakes over and over and over to figure these things out when it's really the same stuff. I mean, a lot of this stuff doesn't really change that much. There are certain basics that you can, in fact, teach people. And so I thought, well, I can't find anyone who's teaching this. You see the occasional blog post or things like that, but there's no core reference book for this stuff. So why don't I just write it? So that's what I did. I figured out all of the things that people should know that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, let me ask you if some of these antidotes are related. For example, when there's a watermark on a coffee table, you use mayonnaise, or that fogged out headlamp on a car, use bug spray to clean that up. Are you talking about that, or what types of life lessons on how to be a grown-up are you talking about?
Well, how to pick a college. What are the things that you need to consider for picking a college? Is it just finances? Is it location? Is it the major? Is it a combination of all those things? How to apply for the colleges? The various student loans that you need to be aware of to apply for those. Just the things that people need to know to go to college. That would be the chapter on college. I have a chapter on renting. This is all of the things that people don't seem to know about renting. A lot of people may have heard of the 1/3 rule, where you never rent anything that's more than a third of your monthly income. People don't understand why that is, though. When you move into a place, is it a place that has furnishings already? Is it a place that doesn't? These are the questions you should be asking. The renting one, I actually go through a standard renting contract and explain the major things that you find in these contracts and what they mean to the renter and what rights they give the renter. There's the finances chapter, is probably the bulkiest one so far, and it goes through everything from the differences between a standard savings account versus a checking account, what you get out of each account and what the limitations are of each account. What is an IRA? What is a 401k? What are these things that you're signing up for when you get a job and they start talking about benefits? What does it mean when there's a difference between an HMO plan versus any other kind of insurance plan? What does it mean to make these decisions, and how are they going to affect you? So that's the kind of things that I write about.
So it sounds like these important things that you're talking about, be it picking the right insurance or renting some property or going to college, it sounds like you provide some basic foundational material and then the right questions that we should ask so that we can be better informed to make correct decisions. So my question to you is that also part of your book, that you instruct us on the types of questions, not only specifically what questions to ask, but also the types of questions to ask so that we can be better informed to make the right decision that fits our needs?
Specifically, no. Many of the chapters do have checklists. These are the things that you need to be looking into if you're going to rent a home. These are the things that you need to look into if you're going to apply to a college. You know, sort of a reminder and summary of the chapter so that you have a little something to make sure that you've actually hit all of these points. Mostly it's about helping people understand these decisions that they have to make. I try very hard not to impose a decision upon people, but you know, there are things that people need to understand about the decisions. For example, it's very easy to sign up for a credit card in college. Probably shouldn't do it. And you know, I give the reasons why. At the same time, in the budgeting section of finances, I do talk about the bonuses that you get through your credit score if you do sign up for a credit card. So, you know, I try and provide a very balanced look without actually imposing a decision upon people, and giving them enough information that they can understand the decisions that they're expected to make as adults.
So it sounds like with the checklist, then you do, by way of the checklist, in some fashion or form, educate the reader in such a way so that they would have the ability to ask their own questions so that they can make better informed decisions.
Right. Yes.
Now, this sounds like a very powerful set of resources based on what you've talked about so far. If I can remember, one was on renting, one was on going to college, one was finances. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, based on what I've heard so far, the audience is maybe late teens, early 20s, maybe even 30s to some extent. Who is your audience for this?
Actually, it's pretty much everyone. The later chapters talk about retirement, wills, the differences in there. One of the chapters talks about home ownership. It's literally meant to be the kind of thing that you can use throughout your entire life. These are things that people should be thinking about throughout their entire life. You know, most people don't want to think about the fact that they may have to choose one of their children to act as a decision maker if their health takes a turn for the worst. You know, those are the things that I talk about in those chapters, is, you know, making those hard decisions and what you should consider while making those decisions. You know, which one of your children is the most level-headed, or is it somebody else that you would prefer having do that? You know, it's literally from high school graduation, and even a little bit before. You have to choose your college before you graduate, but all the way through, you know, preparing for the end of your life and the settlement of your estate, and you know, all of the stuff that goes along with that. And you know, I talk about the benefits of preparing for, you know, even those hard choices, those hard things to think about. With the end of life, you are not just determining where your things go. The more organized you are, the easier it is for the people you leave behind who are trying to grieve at the same time. So, it's things like that. It's all the things that people end up stumbling through and really don't need to.
You hear that phrase, work smarter, not harder. Would you say that phrase applies to your book?
Oh yes, yes. The big thing is that a lot of the topics that I address are things that people just don't really talk about, or they don't really understand themselves, so they're not passing on their own experiences. So, I mean, this information is out there. It's actually pretty easy to get a hold of if you know what you're looking for. And it's just that nobody knows to look for it before it's too late. Nobody knows to research these things until they're sitting in the meeting with some insurance guy saying you need to pick your insurance plan. And you're sitting there with all these numbers going, I have no idea what this means. People are not prepared for these things. And this book, and I have it available as the whole book, or you can actually purchase each chapter as a booklet. So, if you don't need college, then don't get college. If you're coming up on a certain life thing, you get the booklet for that. But so you can have that preparedness, you can have that resource that gives you a leg up, and maybe prevents you from making those mistakes that everybody else is making.
Now, it looks like this book, from what you're describing, is almost like the School of Hard Knocks. And we talk about from a varied age group. You talked about going from as late in age as of planning for retirement and as early as planning for college, and also for middle age for the parent helping the child plan for college, and also throughout the whole time frame working on finances. Tell us a little bit about not only your experience but the research. What was the effort? Sort of put a scope to this in terms of what did it take to put all of these elements together in the book and also into separate booklets.
Really, it was a lot of just looking up definitions and making sure that my own experiences with for example 401k plans, making sure that what I was getting from those experiences was actually making sure that I had the details correct in these various things. One of the reasons that I decided to write the book was because I ended up being the go-to person in every job I've ever had, explaining to people how they pick their insurance and what kinds of retirement plans they needed, and how much they needed to claim on their taxes for dependents. I was the person who people ended up coming to for those answers because I actually did research within my life. And so when I went to write the books, I was just looking for those details, making sure that I had the facts straight, making sure that there were no new updates to certain laws, et cetera, et cetera. So it was just a lot of, looking for industry information, looking for definitions, looking for, quite frankly, a lot of government websites were involved. What their categories were for things, what they demanded out of certain certain savings accounts, certain retirement accounts, et cetera, et cetera. So it was mostly fact checking.
Well, right now I'm just taking a glance at Amazon.com, and we're talking about. I've got Sarah Buhrman with me, Buhrman, so you can easily find it. The book that we're talking about is Life 101, How to Be a Grown-Up. And as you mentioned, Sarah, there are different sections. And I see, for example, in Amazon, and I can just do a quick search, Life 101, How to Be a Grown-Up. and there's one on finances, then there's college, then there's finances, and there's renting, there's cooking, and then there, of course, there's the whole book itself. So there's a lot. I see finances, if I hadn't mentioned that already, so there's quite a bit. Are people buying the book more, or are they buying the chapters more? What are people leaning towards?
Right now, they're mostly focusing on the chapters. I've had a few people buying multiple chapters at the same time, but generally, people enjoy having just the little bit that they're looking for their life goals at that moment. And that's something that I really wanted to provide for people. The buying the entire book would be something that you might do for a college graduate who does have the rest of their lives to retain that resource. But and at the same time, I understand that there will probably be revisions going through as things change in our country and in our society and how things work. So I foresee a few revisions in the future. Hopefully not too fast. But yeah, I like the fact that people are enjoying getting the individual chapters.
Very good. And as you mentioned, that the world is changing. We're about to go through a presidential election, and other things are happening, certainly in the news. And also that affects the lifestyle and what it takes for a person to be a grown-up. Now, in this book, you're talking about certain resources that you provide on how to rent, cook, plan for college, plan for retirement. What chapters have yet to be written? What do you think people are looking for now that you haven't written yet?
I'm kind of drawn to the idea of doing a chapter on how to be political, how to register to vote, and things like that. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh, that was that is such a hot topic, and to be able to write it without putting my own personal opinion into it would be really, really difficult. So maybe when it's not an election year.
Well, now I'll use that as an example. And as I say, we're approaching the election season. And I'm just using that as an example because that's an example of a topic where people have questions. And very often, for example, where I'm located at our Digital Broadcast Center in New England, here in the state of Massachusetts, it says information for voters. And this has been very helpful for me. But I think for a person that might be new at voting, may not know how to read whatever material that is designed to be shared with them. So there's when a topic is hot, that's when they need it, and maybe it's too soon now because it's so short. But maybe after the election. But I'm not proposing that you write that, but I understand that there are peaks and valleys, different seasons, if you will, of when a topic is hot, when something is new. For example, there's a season of time when shopping is big. For example, here in the United States, the holiday season. So that becomes, how do you manage a budget? And then during the summer, here in the United States, the summer, I use my air quotes, is from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend. And so people plan a vacation budget in advance. But see, these things aren't always thought of 365 days out of the year. So the reason why I share this with you, here's finally my question. How do you decide when you wrote the book and also the individual chapters, what would be the best thing that would be useful for persons that when it is a hot topic and then no longer a hot topic? What helped you decide what would be the best chapter to write?
Oh, I think that probably finances is the one nearest and dearest to my heart. Yeah, especially since I wrote the book so soon after the Great Recession, when people are still having difficulty recovering, and seeing the number of people who, after struggling for years, still have no idea how to budget, still have no idea what different um, accounts they can get, what different savings plans they can get. Even the difference between a 401k and, say, stock options. Which ones would actually benefit them during what kind of time frame? And to see that be such a constant, there, no matter where you go, if there is any kind of a discussion group about money or budgeting or frugal or thrifty, those are the key words. You're going to find hundreds of people just begging for hints and tricks and tips on how to do these things. I think that is a pretty evergreen topic at this point, is just how to maximize your money, how to know what to do with your money if you have, if you have extra, how to understand the differences between different kinds of savings accounts and things like that. It's it's a topic that pretty much everybody needs.
Now, I'm just seeing that the book has been released and also the individual chapters. It looks like it was in April of 2015, so it's been out for a while. Tell us a little bit about what people are saying.
Mostly people have been saying, this is exactly what I've needed. This is what I've been looking for. I'm glad somebody finally wrote it. So obviously, as a self-published book, it's been a matter of marketing that people even know about it. And every time somebody discovers it, I'm thrilled that I've been able to give them something that they actually need in their lives.
And what I like about it is that each chapter is not so long. You can get some fast, compact information that's useful to you. Have people been talking about just being the right size book?
I haven't really heard anything about the size of the books. Hopefully that is what they are feeling about it. I like the fact that it's something that when they buy in the physical form, they can tuck it in a bag. They can, they can keep it in their purse. It's codable. It's portable. So, I think that's a really big benefit to that.
Let's talk a little bit about what's on the horizon. So what's Sarah Buhrman doing lately with her pen and paper? What can people expect to see from you in the near future?
Well, I've been working on the book 2 of the Rune Spells series, and we talked about that in our last interview. I have quite a few other books that have been speaking to me and begging to be written. So hopefully I will be able to find the time to get all of those written down and out and available to people. I do have some mid-grade and young adult that I'm looking at. I'm really looking forward to getting those available because I think the stories are really appealing to people.
My guest today has been Sarah Buhrman. Sarah, thank you for joining me on Your World Discovered.
Thank you.
Again, my guest has been Sarah Buhrman. You can find her on Amazon to find her book, Life 101, How to Be a Grown-Up. It's a complete book, and it's also sold in different chapters. Her name, Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, and Buhrman, B-U-H-R-M-A-N. Again, she's been my guest today talking about her book and some good tips. Her book being Life 101, How to Be a Grown-Up. My name is David Ewen. This is Your World Discovered, and this is E.P.N.